Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me for another of my wonderful interviews. Today, live in the studio, my guest, Karren Dodd from the Freedom Network. Hello, Karren.
Hello, Richard.
The Freedom Network. Now, a few months ago, maybe a month ago, I had a chap called Mark who was in one of the hubs, I think in London. But your claim to fame is that this was your concept.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I haven't met Mark, but it's great to know that there's people like Mark out and about sort of promoting the idea of the Freedom Network, because that's exactly what it is, to network for freedom and to be in hubs all around the country, all around the planet. In fact, meeting like-minded people to get together and do good.
So give us a bit of the history then of the Freedom Network.
So it started on the back of Keep Britain Free. I don't know if you're familiar with, seems so long ago all this stuff's happened, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Keep Britain Free, Simon Dolan set it up. And I remember just tuning into it, seeing it online one time. I thought, great, at the very beginning of all this hoo-ha, I thought, great, somebody knows what's going on. So I contacted them, sent them an email saying, can you put a facility on your website so that people can find each other locally?
Yes.
And he did. And the next time I went on there was groups. I think he set it up like South East, South West, North, Scotland and what have you. So so there was a little group in Brighton. I think there were 5 of them to start with. So that's how I came on board. And we started to meet through Keep Britain Free, excuse me. Then I realised that we were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We used to meet in Lewes, my hometown. And people were coming from all over Sussex. And I said, what we need to do is actually create hubs all around Sussex and beyond. So that's when this idea came in with the Freedom Network. And I just kind of set up a website and it just took off. So
just explain for those people who perhaps haven't heard of it, because freedom is a very broad term, isn't it? And we're facing a whole load of stuff which we're all fighting against, but people are fighting in all sorts of divisions, whether it's sovereignty, the bank side of things, alternative money, health, of course, people who've been affected by the medical intervention that we've all had. Just being careful with my words as always. So is this freedom of all these things? Are there specific things that you concentrate on?
So I see my role as like a facilitator, really, or an administrator. So the initial plan, it was done in haste. I set this up. There were people around me at the time that we were working together, but they've kind of disbanded and done their own thing now. So it's set up really as a means for people to find other like-minded folk.
Right.
And there was desperation. We were all running around as headless chickens. People would contact me. There was, some were suicidal because they were trying to tell their family, their friends what's going on. Of course, everybody said they're bonkers. So when they found a group like us, like ours, they were so relieved that they could find like-minded people.
Yes.
So they would contact me, and I would then set them up on the map. So there's an interactive map on the website. And if they go to the website, you would look to see where your local hub is. You would then be directed straight to that hub. So there'd be an email address. You'd go straight to, let's say, Worthing. So I would be bypassed. They wouldn't need to contact me. If there wasn't anything in Worthing, they'd come to me. I'd say, well, I'll put you as a contact, and kind of off you go and set up your community. So then I would also send, because my vision was to have these hubs all around the world, as I say, and there are 400 or 500 of them, but they would as satellite groups, they would sort of feed into each other, or like a main hub in their county, let's say. So always grassroots, not top level down, in grassroots going up. So there's no hierarchy, but within the hubs, they would then sort themselves out to all the things that are needed, which is what you just expressed, whether it's bartering or currency or food or home education or health or just socializing, whatever's needed in society. So I'd give them a guideline saying, this is what I suggest we do. And that was it, and it kind of just took off. It took off. It's sort of
very organic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is organic. And obviously, I've never kept like an email trail. I don't know who's contacted who, but I know it got sort of very, very large very quickly. And it did take its toll on me, because I was, sitting on the computer like you do all the time.
Yes,
and I know till 2 a.m. Yeah, sending out letters.
And no sunlight and no exercise.
Cakes, yeah, and achy backs. Yeah, cakes. That was the thing, just to get you through. So it did take its toll a little bit, but it's needed.
Yes.
It was needed. And then I think because we've just redone the website, I think last week, 2 weeks ago, to make it more lighter, because it was quite a sort of not a heavy going thing, but the previous website was obviously very effective with big mountains in the background and stuff. But that was not a sense of doom, but it was just kind of a bit heavy, I guess.
Right.
Whereas now I think it's moved on. I'm thinking, I've done my bit now, I can back off.
So when you say that, do you mean, because I found that I was doing the problem,
yeah,
and telling people what the problem was, and in my inimitable style saying, why is the government doing this, and why do you suppose, trying to get people to think.
Yeah.
But now I've moved on to more what are we going to do about
yes,
it? What are the solutions?
Solution-based, yes.
And that's interesting, because I think more people like to be scared than actually want to get off their backside and do something.
Scared or very happy, having a good time, which is what
Yes.
I've noticed, because that's also what a lot of these hubs have turned out to be, socialising, which is
Right.
great. That's obviously a really important thing. People need people, but also they're not necessarily getting off their butts and doing the work that needs to be done.
Yes.
I think a lot of us think, oh, that was a close shave, we nearly got caught. Off we go back down the pub or in the park, have a coffee and chat, and see you next week. Whereas work needs to be done.
Yes.
And it is being done. Some of the hubs are really active. I know that because they tell me,
Yes.
they contact me. And a lot of them are also organising conferences. For instance, I think Eli was on your show. So he came from the Bristol hub. He set up the Bristol hub, and now that's evolved into a bigger group, and he's running these seminars, which is fantastic, bringing people. Same as London, same as Hope, that was a Hastings hub. So a lot of these, are organically turning
Yes.
into something else. I have nothing to do with it. I will support them where I can or if I'm asked, but it's just an organic process. But what I did also think, being a solution-based kind of organisation, is we need to bring all these people together, which is what I tried last year. So we had what I called a strategy and Stratford meeting, and there were about 70 or 80 key people, movers and shakers, I called it, people that were already setting up like newspapers or sovereign societies or very active hubs. And we all came together, and in my mind, my vision was to take like the Freedom Network, or it doesn't matter what it's called, because people get a bit personal about the name of it,
Right.
sort of feature. So they want to call it their own thing. So it doesn't really matter what it's called, but their community, we needed to have some infrastructure in place. So what I was planning to do, or my intention or my vision, was to create pillars of society. And we actually set something up called Our New Earth, the One Club. And within that, we would have like tables or pillars of society set up into 12 various categories, but 12 people would sit on the table, 6 men, 6 women for the balance, and then to discuss their expertise, whether it is growing food or whether it's bartering or crypto or health or whatever it is. That was the plan. And I thought it was going to work quite well, and potentially it still could, but I think we're not quite ready at that stage, because there was a bit of a backlash. There's something that's just come into my email tray this morning on the back of it, because they think there are people in there that are shills that have worked for the other side, and then the ego gets involved. And
Yes.
I don't like Kim, and she was rude to me, and and all this. So people are people, aren't they? Really.
This
and,
is. I attended, and we've been all told we can't talk about it as at the moment. But I was involved going to somewhere, and again, sort of movers and shakers and what have you, and an idea was put forward for something. And of course, everybody's got their own take.
Yes.
And they've all got their own speciality that they're working on, or the interest that they're working on, which is fantastic. And then you assume that all these people are going to come together for the greater cause.
Yes.
And go forward in one motion.
Yes.
And then you realise, actually, the egos come out, and then as you say, the controlled opposition business sort of is called out, and you think, oh, blimey, this is difficult. But as you say, whether it's in the Freedom Network or in the chess club, or the WI, I'm sure it's the same problem.
I think it's slightly different with us, in as much as you've got them on the other side, the normies,
yes,
and which is quite clear when I set this up, because they're all wearing things on their faces.
Yes,
and then
set them apart.
Yeah, oh, there's one. And I'd feel sorry for them to an extent, because I think, well, they just don't know. They're not as evolved, or they've been watching too much television.
Yes.
So, and it's very difficult to reach those people. But those on the other side of the fence that weren't wearing anything or shoving anything anywhere, I thought we were all the same. I thought, oh God, we're here to make a better better place with love and compassion and kindness. So I found it really difficult when I realised that not everybody was quite on that same page. You know, we are human, we have emotions. I'm trying to be kind and considerate, and I try and do all those things. But obviously, being human, I've got my foibles as well.
Yes.
And I've upset a few people on the way. But to me, I just see this job that we have to get done because we are at the 11th hour now. I mean, it's really coming to a head, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think you're right, in as much as we have to lose those egos and those things for the greater good, because otherwise, what are you going to do?
Stuffed.
We're stuffed.
We're stuffed.
Yeah, exactly. So within these different hubs all around, presumably, do you have a sort of like a news network that can feed the hubs and say, oh, we've just discovered this is happening, we should react in your own unique way, but this is worth our attention at this point?
That's how it was initially. So and it was very successful in Sussex, for instance, and I know in London it's worked out.
Good
and
old
I think
Sussex.
Good old Sussex. But it's collapsed now, so it's not quite
sorry.
so good.
Sussex, you've let me down.
It was because there were like 16 hubs, and we'd all come together and meet and discuss things like you said, and you know, there'd be a couple of key people that come to the group meeting and go to their hubs and say, this is what they're doing, or this is what we should do, or how about this, and that's how I could just see it all organically grow.
Yes.
But then I upset a couple of people, so they chucked me off the Telegram groups.
Karren,
And
what have you
I know. And it disbanded, which was very sad. And then I realised that is typical of many of the groups.
Yes.
Many of the groups, because I get emails of people telling me all sorts of stuff. It's quite interesting, actually, what does go on in these hubs. And some people have used it like for satanic ritual. And I thought, oh, that wasn't intended. So,
excuse me.
It's in interesting times. So you can only do so much, can't you? You can't tell people what to do. You can only do it from the right place. The heart-based place is what I try and where I come from.
And it's interesting you say that, because I've thought about this, having witnessed similar things on the periphery, and I've kept myself relatively independent because of the nature of the channel.
Yes.
But I was thinking, you know, how is it that the other side is able to manipulate all these things? And I thought, well, it all comes down to being bribed or paid.
Yes.
And that's something that we can't do. We can't say, look, this is the policy that we're going to follow. Everyone's got to do it. And in order to ensure that, we're just going to pay you X amount of money so you know, you don't pull away to other things. So, but we can't do that. We're relying on integrity.
I love that. That's my favourite word.
Right.
Integrity. It's integrity. And doing the inner work.
Yes.
Excuse me. I think, you know, we've got to work on our shadow, because this is a spiritual war that we're going through. It's not just black and white, you know. And once you go into your shadow and your deeper self, and you try and do the work, the process your own problems, and we've all got problems, because that's why we're walking on this planet. We haven't grown our wings yet, you know, we're still human. And
well, you said
hang on,
mine
no,
are.
there's a couple coming, little buds.
At least I hope they're wings.
Hang on, no.
No. I keep my head shaved so you don't see any horns.
But I think that's the key. I think it's the inner work, because and forgiveness, and getting rid of the bitterness and the anger.
I suppose then that people are at different stages.
Yes,
of that.
different of evolving.
Yeah.
And this is key. And I send out newsletters. They're not as regular as they used to be, but that was for me to try and keep people not together, but some connection through the network. Because I did think, right, I've had enough now. I've done my bit. I'm going. Yeah. But then since Mark came on your show, I've been inundated.
Oh dear.
With,
sorry about that. It's all my fault.
Yeah, it's all your fault. But it did coincide with the new website, and I thought, okay, the gods are still looking out for us, and work needs to be done. And I'll carry on doing it until I get the sign not to do it anymore. If nobody emails me, then I won't bother, and I'll put my energy somewhere else. But I think we really do have to do this inner work. And I've seen it over and over again with people, key players in this movement as well, that they're not there for the greater good of all. They're there for fame or for fortune, or because they want to be liked or loved. You know, but whereas if you're doing this inner work and you have no attachment to the result, I think that is key. Don't have attachment to it, because then you're just doing it from a heart-based place rather than I'm going to get rich or I'm going to get famous. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
It doesn't.
It's funny because when I started doing it, well, I say it's funny. It's not funny at all, but it's one of those expressions
I could
you
laugh
say.
if you like.
Yeah, if you would,
okay.
that would be great.
Tell me what it is first.
Hang on, let me give you the money. When I started, I switched from the heritage, landscape, and nature that I was doing, which every now and again, I imagine viewers who've only come to this because of the area that I'm in now will get from YouTube stuff from the past, and they'll go, oh, look at him, he's now pointing at trees or old buildings or going in a church. What's that all got to do with the truth movement? And when I switched, of course, there were basically two different audiences. And the old audience didn't like what I was saying or doing because they, I was challenging a lot of their beliefs, like man-made climate change, and thinking,
really, is that the joke?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I'm coming up to the joke. So they were being challenged, and here's the punchline. Somebody said to me, of course, oh, I know why you're doing what you're doing now, because, wait for it, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please, there's a lot of money to be made in conspiracy theories. And you go, Oh, I didn't realise. Sorry, I'm in it for the money and the fame and all these things.
Yes.
Never mind that we're all going to be sort of enslaved in 15-minute cities and have our digital ID and our DNA stolen, and the satanic practices, and our children are going to be sorted out. Never mind all that. It was just the money.
Just the money. So
and it
where
doesn't
is
even
it?
matter. The money, of course, is going to be changed into CBDCs if we don't do something about it. So why would you be in it for the money anyway?
Well, do you know, it's quite interesting, and that's so true. That is so true. And but your name has popped up actually on this email thread on the back of the meeting that I had in Stratford last year.
Right.
So somebody's just put their head up again, and I won't say any names here, but they mentioned a few people, and the names, they probably will be quite well known, but they are accusing these people, and they might be right. I don't know, I haven't done enough digging, but they've actually said that we're a lot of Pied Pipers following the likes of David Icke and Richard Forbes.
Ah, yes.
Because
I must show you my pipe sometime. That's not a euphemism, by the way.
But it's a shame, because this person, one, actually there's two emails, there's three of them, there's a little group of these people that are sending these emails, and they're following each other, and one of them's anonymous, which really annoys me, because I think, stand up and be counted. If you're going to say something, just stand in your own sovereignty, instead of just throwing naughty things at people.
That's right.
But so it really annoys me. But so your name will come up, as my name has.
I mean, people have said that I'm shill or controlled opposition and all of that.
Yes.
And in fact, I did a talk only the other day in up north, and I always get Dudley and the other place, Derby. It was in Derby, just north of Derby, a lovely little village, West Riddings, I think it was called.
Oh.
Lovely village.
Right.
And we did questions at the end.
Yeah.
And one of the questions, well, there were two silly questions. One was, are you gay? Not that it makes any difference one way or another, but the lovely Julia was with me.
Okay.
And it was like, if I say yes, she's going to be upset. So I'll say no then. It's like, what do you say?
Yeah.
And the other question is, are you controlled opposition? And I hadn't looked at the questions deliberately, because I wanted to just answer them as honestly as I could. And of course, it just makes you smile, because you go, well, that's for you to decide, really, because what can I say?
Yeah, exactly.
Say, well, no. If I say no, they may still go, oh, well, you would say that.
Yep.
But if I say yes, it's like, well, that's the most ridiculous answer you're going to say. It's
exactly.
Like, what are you going to say?
Yeah,
so you have to judge me on me and look at my history.
Absolutely.
I spent 5.5 years pointing at trees and churches. If that's the way you get to be controlled opposition, well, then, make your own mind up.
Absolutely. Discernment.
And of course, I do make it quite clear on my monologues, they're just an opinion.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I say that a lot. And then I just let the guests say their piece.
Yeah.
And I might nod and ask them a few questions. But I don't say, oh, no, you're wrong, or I criticize, or say necessarily I am absolutely... I mean, sometimes I agree with them, but it's mainly about the guests. But I don't mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimately, if people think that I'm a Pied Piper or whatever, great, it's
up
like...
to them.
Up to them.
Yeah. And again, there's no attachment again, you see, is it? You're just letting people speak as it should be.
Yes.
Yeah, you're just giving them a platform to say, and let the viewers decide what they want to.
If they're saying, all our kids should be taken away and put into boxes and given to satanic practices, I might say to myself, that's something I vehemently disagree with, I wouldn't put it out.
Yeah.
But I've not had any person on as a guest that There was one person who I didn't agree with his things, but I thought, give him enough rope and let the audience make their mind up.
That's what I found with certain people that I've had a clash with, fallen out with, or whatever, or disagreed with. I thought, I've got my opinion. I'm not going to go stabbing anybody in the back. They will sort them. It will come out in the end. It will always come out in the wash. That's why I think, as long as we're doing it from the heart base, for love, compassion, truth, because there's somebody or something judging us.
Yes.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
And, when we go knocking on the pearly gates, if they let us in, great. If they don't, then we have to come back and do it all again.
I just hope they're in when we knock them on the
pearly.
Well,
absolutely. They might have gone.
It might be cold.
Who knows? Where are they? So
can people still join the Freedom Network?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think the reason I contacted you, because other people said, why don't you contact Richard to go on the show? So because I don't really like going out and doing these things. But I do it for the greater good again. And when Mark came on, I thought I do need to come along and say it isn't just London based. That there's hubs all over the country and all over the globe. Can you say globe? Globalist? All over the planet. Is it round or flat? I don't know. But there's hubs everywhere. A lot of them are very inactive now, and I do need to find time to go and contact everyone individually and say, are you active?
Do you think they're inactive because we're in a sort of period of a lull?
The lull zone.
And to me, the lull is a false sense of security.
Yes, we're in the eye of the storm, Richard.
Yes, so we're kind of going, I know something's going to happen.
Yes.
We're waiting, and we see all this sort of, there's this Naira virus, whatever, how we've been pronounce it, likely to come in, and then there's this sort of fake alien invasion stuff with Project Bluebeam, and we heard about the ticks, and then there's the banking crash, and all the other things, the digital IDs and all. And the one thing we do know that's happening, of course, is the councils are ramrodding.
Careful.
See, you tried doing a YouTube channel and getting every word correct. Ramrodding or railroading. I think that's what I was trying to say.
Railroading.
There you go.
Yes.
Railroading in those 15-minute cities.
Yes.
And in my previous interview, which in theory will have gone up before this one, where Kim was telling me about Oxford and the situation in Oxford. We know that that's going in.
Yeah, it's happening.
And it's happening right under people's noses and under the guise or the myth that net zero is an attainable thing or even desirable. Yeah. Which, of course, both those things are completely untrue.
It's another joke there, isn't there?
Yes, another joke. Unattainable and not desirable.
Yeah.
And I was asking her, do you think the councillors know what's going on? And it just seems that most of the councillors have been so brainwashed into thinking that net zero is a good thing that they don't realise they're building the prison. Yeah, no,
absolutely they don't. Because I at the very beginning, I was writing to my counsellor and I might as well have been banging my head against the door. I actually said, you're going to be accused of murder and I'm accusing you of it because of what you're doing with this, this thing that we've just gone through.
Absolutely.
So, but going back to your question about, is it still kind of active?
So is it,
it will be. No, not at all. I think there is a need because I think we are the lull, we are in the eye of the storm. I met a new lady, a random lady I was talking to on Monday, and she's had 1, 2, 3 of these things in her arm.
Right.
But she's awake. And I said, well, why did you do it? She said, well, because of my husband. And she was pushed into it. But now she was saying, I'm trying to remove it. And she was giving me pictures of a zeolite and all these sorts of things. And I said, well, that's great. It's great that you're awake. So I started talking to her about what I've been setting up. And she was very interested in it. And she wants to meet like-minded people.
Yes.
But she said, have you heard of I can't remember what she called it, some new thing that the World Economic Forum or whoever have put our way, apparently. But she said, well, I'm trying to get my travel in as quickly as I can because by 2025 we're only going one holiday a year and 3 pieces of clothing per year and so she's fearful of all this, and I said it is fear-mongering. I said, but at least you are aware that something is happening.
Yes.
So for the likes of her and new people that are coming on board, they do need to find their community. So I will keep it alive. And I would love if anybody out there wants to get involved and help in any way with the admin or what have you. I would love that because it has just been me, and it's
sort of at headquarters.
Well,
level.
Yeah. I mean, headquarters you can do it all. In your
remotely.
Headquarters, remotely, anything.
Work at home.
Work at home. Yeah, but there's no furlough pay. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Because there's no pay at all, as you know.
No pay at all. No.
Not even bribes for this. So,
that's it.
But,
So the so tell us what I mean, we know that 3 years ago we had the medical intervention, and there was a lot of backlash like that. And I made a video the other day talking about, because I was at a talk and somebody said, and he had a stick, and he said, we are damaged but forgotten. No one's talking about us anymore, the people who'd had the medical intervention, and it's not out there anymore. But obviously they know about it, but the general public are not being made aware about it. So I did a video. But as you say, we're now in this lull, and we're getting a lot of false flags or potential things coming in, and we're hearing, and of course we wait for them to tell us what's going to happen through all the different strategies. And there's a film, Cry for Freedom, Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom, yeah.
Which is either that's a whistleblowing film, or it's telling us what's going to happen. And I think there are two sides to what people are thinking about that. So what sort of things would you be expecting people to do in the networks, in the hubs at this moment? What kind of work are they doing?
I think the most important thing is to get land.
Right.
I think it's really, and that's what I said from the outside, to actually own your own land. Renting land from nice farmers is lovely, but you're still obliged to pay rent, or they can chuck you off.
Yeah.
And rents, as we know, are becoming ridiculously high. So I think the main thing is to somehow get a group of people and go and find some land, and it's happening.
Yes.
People contact me. There's some people from London actually. Then on Wednesday, is it Wednesday today?
It is.
Yes, they put in a seal bid, is it, for some land in East Sussex, 40 acres, and then they want people to work on the land, or I don't know, build houses or whatever.
Yes.
That's actually what I'm planning to do, and I was going to exchange on some land at the end of last month, but it's sadly fallen through. But it's what I'm going to do myself. I'm going to find land and use it as a community base so that people can come and grow their own food. And as Hope Sussex are doing, they're using it for education and for community and for just bringing people together. And that, I think, is really, really key. If we had these little bits of land all over the country, these little, communities, it would be amazing. But they also need to be linked up. I think your left arm needs to know what your right arm's doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. Again, that's what when the Freedom Network was set up, that was the intention, to have all these communities. And I would say, go and buy your land, and then get people that are experts in their fields, and just come together and educate people. Educate. But there's tons of things that can be done, and there are all these educators in every capacity, every subject. The common law experts, but I know a lot of people that have followed the common law experts and actually have been stuck now. They've lost their license, and certain things of big fines and what have you. So there's also been a lot of misinformation on our side, which is very sad.
I've had many of these common law experts on the show, and then I had Darren from Wales, who told us that he, considered himself an expert, but lost 2 houses doing this. So it was a warning to be careful as you do it, because unless you know it so deeply, you can come a cropper. And do you know Simon the Woodlander, who is in near Warminster? He has a project initiative. He lives in a wood. He discovered that there's an old rule: if you buy a piece of woodland and build it.
Yes. I know the rule. Yes, that's right. Yes.
After 4 years, you can do it. And so he's set up an initiative now to get people to contribute and then buy land so they can do all this. So you're absolutely right. There's this is going on.
Yeah.
And if people can be linked, as you say, so that there is all sorts of good stuff that comes from land.
And also like an exchange, because we're all, if this digital currency does come in, which it will come in, and whether we keep cash alive, I don't know, but we can create our own cash perhaps, or we can exchange,
or barter systems,
exactly.
trading,
And if you've got a field, if you've got a community over there in Warminster that are experts in chopping down wood, maybe people that grow cabbages, you do the exchange. So that's why there does need to be some sort of network. Whether it's mine, I don't care, but I just know that is what is needed.
Absolutely. It's keeping the thing alive.
Keeping, and that's all it is. That's grassroots routes. We don't therefore need somebody from above telling us what we can and can't do. But if they try, then we have to stand in our sovereignty and say no.
Yeah,
and I've said no a few times. The first conference that I did was in lockdown, November 2020, I think, if that's when it was, can't remember. But we had this an amazing conference because everybody had been locked down, or those that chose to follow those rules.
Yes.
Many of us just carried on as normal.
Or a lot of guidance that we thought were laws.
Yeah, that's right, right. Yeah, the guidance.
The guidance.
Yeah, for our better health, so we didn't
After all, that's what Boris was following, wasn't he? Just guidance, I think.
Another joke there, Richard.
Another joke in there.
But so in lockdown we had the I call it conference, so specifically a conference because it's educational. So just in case it went to another stage, I said, well, we were conferring, it was educational, so we could meet.
Yes.
But the police did come, and they thought, oh, this looks great. But we were supposed to be social distance. We were supposed to have these nappies on our faces, and none of us did. We just carried on, and we had a really good time. However, we were a vendor short for food. So at the end of the evening, there was a mass exit for people looking for something to eat. And of course, they went to the local village, to all the restaurants. They didn't have anything on their face. And it caused a big stink. And it hit the local paper, actually. So and I did get a few phone calls, but I'm still here. And
I think I might sneeze.
Bless you, that's okay.
It's nearly...
No, okay. So you can say no. Say no. That's all. Say no.
Yes.
And it's a numbers game. Again, the Freedom Net was about the numbers game because we did have the common law experts saying, don't pay your council tax. Fine, don't pay your council tax, but just don't do it as an individual because you will be the one that gets penalised for it. Yeah. But if there's lots and lots and lots of us all on one day, we don't do it, then what? Because it's a numbers game.
And I think that, from the conversations that I have, like you, when you're sort of operating something where there's lots of people who, in my case, are watching and listening, and then they respond, and in your case, a network, you start hearing all sorts of stuff. And I think, and you're trying to assess what's actually true and what's sort of likely to be true and things like that. But it does seem to me that information about not paying certain things is trickling through. But the fact that actually we need a significant body to make it work rather than on an individual basis, even though individually we're not paying, but it is that big body.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's coming, and I think in a way that's what the authorities are worried about and panicking, because it's by us uniting.
Absolutely.
Is that suddenly our power is apparent.
Yeah.
And will be apparent to us, because at the moment when you're at home on your own and you only know somebody else, and then you walk into the street and everybody is just carrying on as if nothing's going on, and you're thinking, hang on, am I living in a parallel universe?
Yeah, exactly.
You can get confused and thinking it's not. So that's why I think the Freedom Network and initiatives like what you're doing is so important. And when I've only been doing a few talks now, but at the talks that I do and people turn up, somebody in the room, and I can almost guarantee it, will say at the end of the talk, how do we all connect? Because we're all on the same page.
Well, that's what the website's for. And it's been there from day one. And that was its sole purpose, really, just for people to find each other. So I haven't been collecting data. I haven't got a list of an email trail or anything like that. You just sign up, you find your local hub. And if there isn't one, or they don't reply, then come to me and I'll set one up, and then we'll see where it moves, because it does. We are, I think, at the next stage where we do need some sort of organisation, and and there's so many people now that are aware and awake, and even those that have been on this side with their things on their faces. I say the woman I met, she's had 3 in her arm, and she knows something's not right.
And I suppose people want some direction, even if
they
it's
do. They
because
do
we're
need
so
direction.
we're used to that top
exactly.
down.
We are being told what to do.
And some people, some people like me are very motivated. I'll get up and do my own thing, but somebody else might has perhaps been employed all their lives. And they're just used to saying, "Look, here's a project. Go and get on with it." And you go, "Oh, okay, no, I'll do that." And so they need a little nudge.
Well, they do. They do. No, absolutely. They don't need to be.
No,
they don't need to necessarily be led, guided, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like guided, because we've been indoctrinated from school, and you can see it in all walks of life. You know, like the painter. I said, "Can you paint my lounge?" And at the moment, it's where do I start? Do you know? Oh gosh! And in everything, virtually every person you're speaking to on the phone, it's just. I was in a coffee shop the other day, and I wanted to use the loo. And they'd wash the floor and they wouldn't let me in because I might slip. I said, don't worry, I'll be fine.
Be
She
all
said,
right.
yeah, she said, well, I'm just going to ask the boss. And she asked the boss wouldn't let me in, you know? And it was just so ridiculous. Nobody's got initiative because it's part of the system. So we do need to be guided, but we need to discern, go inside, ask ourselves what the answer, use our common sense. But we're so reliant on sat-navs and computers and these things in our hands. You know, the kids are going to come out the womb with one of them in their hand, aren't they? So it's tough.
Or in their head.
Yeah. And I think it's also, those of us, we are rebels to an extent. We are rebels, so it's quite difficult to point the finger and say, you go and do that, because you can't tell me what to do.
No.
You know, and that's what, again, I've come up against. They don't want to be told, the people that are on this side, because they're fighting the fight. But so we have to find some way to move forward, you know, holding hands and singing Kumbaya, maybe with something in our back, I don't know. What did Jennifer? What's a bow and arrow?
A bow and arrow.
Bow and arrow. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's got to be peaceful. It has to be peaceful, because they want to. They divide and conquer.
Yes.
You know, they want all that. It's got to come from a peaceful place.
And maybe one of the reasons, because I often think this whole freedom network, or the network of freedom people, not specifically your network, but the initiative, we're all waking up, that they haven't, or maybe they can't, but they haven't come down on us like a ton of bricks. I mean, I think, you know, any time I can be unplugged. Yeah. And all the time that they think, oh, they'll never unite themselves. Yeah. All the time they're doing their thing. They're actually just so scattergunned that actually they're having such a minimal effect, but they think they are. Yeah. So in a way, we'll leave them to do that because they're more dangerous if they do unite. Yes. And of course, that's the one thing we've actually got to do. Yeah. So I can't remember what my point was.
Well, I think it is about uniting and then being frightened of us uniting. That's where these computer things come in really handy, because it's a tool that we can all use. Yes. And so it is to our advantage. I mean, technology is great if it's used not for nefarious reasons, if it's used for the benefit of us, not for the evil, which is what I think a lot of them are planning to do. But yeah, we are uniting. And I think they are scared of that. And I was going to say something, but I've forgotten as well on that basis. But
you talk about the technology and the things. I also think that, and I mentioned this in one of my videos some months ago, that they've got some very clever techniques, like the nudge unit and the 3-word slogans. Which you know they use in which they use in adverts and also
NLP.
Commands and NLP. And we can use, these techniques. It's good because we can learn from them in a way.
Yeah,
and go,
absolutely.
All right, then.
We'll do it.
We'll do it the same. Yeah. And I thought, well, we can also do it to our, not just back at them, but to ourselves, like use more cash, or cash is king, or things like that, which is a harmless but positive message. But it's those sort of things. So.
Well, they've had the highest paid psychologists and psychiatrists and brain surgeons, haven't they, doing all this for eons?
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to many decades ago. So this hasn't just happened. This has been planned for a long, long time, and it's not the first attempt that but we won't go into history because we'll be here forever. But there are ways that they can turn us off. If you look at Farage, they just shut his bank account. And I think Deb Hicks, is it? I think I read somewhere that her bank, she's having problems with her banks. And I'm having problems with my banks. It could just be, a silly error, but a few times I've had a few problems with my banks. I've not been able to use a card, but I have several bank accounts, nothing in them. No. But I have several bank accounts.
And then you start to worry, don't you?
I do. I'm thinking,
that
why?
The thing? Is that them, or is that just a coincidence?
Is it a glitch?
Is it a glitch?
Yeah,
is it real life?
Yeah. But I do, because I'm waiting. I'm thinking that's why I'm not really out there a lot, because I just want to be, underground, not underground, but just quietly setting up
like
things.
Like
the Wombles, wombling free, overground. Bulgaria,
I know, it's my sense of humour. Well, it's because, being controlled opposition, I have to sort of get these things in. Elizabeth Nesbitt, I think, wrote the Wombles. Why I know that, I don't know.
Well, I was talking about the other day I can't remember what, I know why, because what's happening today?
What day is it today?
It's Wimbledon Day.
Oh, is it Wimbledon?
I think it is.
It was only yesterday when I was sad. And it's the Carpenters coming in. Okay. It was only the other day when I heard somebody's television, and I heard that sound from my childhood. Ping, pong. And I thought, it must be so engrossed in what I'm doing here.
Yeah, exactly.
Forgot that Wimbledon was a thing.
Yeah, same here. It's just a friend said, I'm going to the men's today. I said, the men's what? Wimbledon. I said, So the same. I had no idea, but that's obviously why the Wombles have come into the ether to tell us they are, watching the tennis from underground.
They're watching the tennis, blimey, yeah. So now let's move on to some of the things that you do, because I'm doing a talk for you.
Thank you so much.
At Hope, Sussex, where I went and met Katie Jo, took us around the amazing thing that they're doing there. And Julia and I, when we went there, we just said, why is this not everywhere? Every kid should have the opportunity to
grow up on there.
Get out of school for one thing, and just have that kind of environment where they can run around and fall over, graze their knee, have a bit of lessons, and have some kind-hearted, genuine people nurturing them and learning about life. Now, it happens that they've got a music festival. They do all sorts of things because it's a nice venue and they're trying to raise money. Yeah. And you've got an event. Yeah,
this will be my 4th one there, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
So this is my 10th event, I think. I can't remember. So the first one was in November 2020. And then I took them sort of around the country. Manchester, Milton Keynes, Isle of Wight, other places. And it was hard work. It was really hard work because then I'd have to get the marquees and the toilets, the shower, the food and everything. And I thought, I've done it. That's enough. I've done my bit. And then Hope said, well, we're your team, so do them here. So I've been doing them there. I think I've done February, May, so it'll be the 3rd one this year, September, because all the money that is made, any profit, goes straight back into their pot. So
does it?
Everything.
Oh,
I don't make any money out of this. I pay for the website, admin costs. I don't pay myself anything. Everything goes back into these amazing communities. And if I do this one in London, so I'm planning one in London, 1st, 2nd, 3rd of December. Not too sure, possibly Chiswick. I've been offered Chiswick or Peckham, which is great, but Peckham's harder to get to. So I think something's going to happen in Chiswick. And again, the funds will go back into that community for their benefit.
Oh, brilliant!
But yeah, so to me, that's what's important, to help these communities and educate the children.
What goes on at the event? What sort of thing?
So we have speakers, amazing speakers. There's a guy called Richard Vobes that's coming. He's pretty,
Pied Piper apparently.
Pied Piper, and he knows a lot about trees and churches and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
let's hope he doesn't talk about any of that.
You can talk about what you like, because I'm sure it's all linked. It's
probably all linked, especially those Roman churches. But anyway.
Oh, there you go. So churches and where they're located, like geometrically. Yes. So we've got a fabulous guy, Dan Doherty. Sorry, Dan. He works at Forest Row. Yep. And he has got a school called the Sacred Art of Geometry. I think that's what it's called.
The Sacred Art of Geometry.
You must get him on here. He's absolutely he's so funny. He's a funny guy. Yeah. You'll meet all these people.
Oh, right.
So I've got him.
What's his name again?
Daniel Doherty, but I can email all this to you. And he is going to talk about, guess.
Churches.
And
linked together, ley lines,
sacred geometry.
Sacred. Oh, yes, we're talking about sacred. It's in the
name
is in the title there.
Give you a hand.
Yeah, thanks.
But that's all right. But it will be linked to possibly churches, because you look at the windows and all the sorts of stuff. So he's amazing. Who else have we got talking? Oh my goodness, I can't remember. Mushrooms. Somebody talked about mushrooms. Julia and Giles were talk about his music, and we have about community. There's 3 days. I mean, the program isn't on Eventbrite, so there's 3 days of speakers. We have workshops as well in the gap. So we have Claire, the oily witch. She'll be talking about all
the oily witch.
The oily witch. She's wonderful. You should get her on here as well. She's wonderful. Talks about lotions and potions and astrology.
Yes.
We have Rebecca. You met Rebecca. She started up the Freedom Network Choir, so she will be doing workshops to bring, because being vibrational beings, we need to raise our vibration.
Yes.
So that's all kind of what it's about. It's all about a high vibe thing.
Yeah.
Kids will be running around. We have Mark Devlin. He's like the regular. He always comes every.
I've got Mark in the diary either this week, next week.
Have you? Okay.
Soon.
Well, say hi to him from me. He's great. He cracks me up actually. So he comes and does his talk. He's doing this time. I put a request and I said, can you talk about George Michael, Prince, Michael Jackson? These are all like sort of
George Michael, Prince, and
Michael Jackson, because they were like sacrifice beings, perhaps, I don't know. And he's right. He's going to do a talk called Nostalgia Side, because he feels that these pop stars that we've grown up with and we've become familiar with, like you talk about tennis, ping pong, you get that memory. Well, they've all been like removed, and he thinks that could be some psychological loss,
Oh,
bereavement. Anyway, he's going to be talking about that, and he also does a DJ set, and then we have some acoustic around the fire. We have a meditation. We've got some yoga. I'll probably be teaching the yoga because I'm a yoga teacher. So all sorts going on, and then there's the food, and just fun, and then you've got all the networking that goes on behind the scenes, which is really what it's about. So a lot of people have met, and things have come from this, and a lot of the speakers, I try and get people that haven't spoken before, and then they are springboarded off to go down to Eli's event, or they go up to London. So we've had Sandy Adams and David Edelman and mix up. We've had so many speakers that have come through, and then they're just like, they're on tour kind of thing, because that's what I think is really important, to get the knowledge out to various groups.
Yes. And as much as what I do here, I think having started to do the talks now, meeting real people in the flesh is so much more important.
It is. That's why I wanted to invite myself to your home and have a nice cup of tea.
Have a nice cup of tea.
Mint tea from the garden.
Front garden.
And it's delicious.
Oh,
Thank
is it?
you. And meet your Mojo,
yes.
the cat.
My little cat.
Yes.
Well, Julia's cat. I have to say that, otherwise
Julia's cat.
I'll get clouted. So that's really brilliant. So presumably information is on the Freedom Network website. I know it's on Hope Sussex website.
Yes.
I'm on the 1st of September.
Are you? Yeah, okay, I can't remember when. Yeah, once it's done, it just goes. It's, But
it runs from the 1st to the 3rd.
Yes, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So people can come. It's camping, obviously. So you can come on the Thursday night. Yeah. Set up your camp, and there's food. There'll be food Thursday night till Monday morning. I don't know if you've eaten there, but they provide fantastic food, vegan food, and all sorts of and meat. Yeah. So it's just really, really lovely. Somebody bought a ticket the other day, and for camping. And I eventually got round to emailing them. I said, "Are you just camping? Do you want to come to the event?" And she said, "Well, what event?" And I thought it's so funny, because the only way she got camping is through my Eventbrite page. Right. But so she was just going to come and spend 4 days camping in the field. But
nice, quiet 4 days camping with Mark Devlin doing a DJ set and all of that.
I know, it's so funny. So I had to guide her a little bit further. Yes. Bless her, but hopefully she'll come. And so it's a great event. They're always great.
And is there number restrictions on that?
Well, we normally get a couple of hundred, I think 100 to 200. It will never probably be more than up to 500, but it couldn't take, because of the TENS license. So I think it's 499, which includes the speakers and the workshops and the staff and the volunteers and all that. So we get a couple of hundred. I think the most we've had 250, which is fine. The last one was probably about over 100, but it's become a family, because people know, they come from all over, but they get to know each other, and they go, they pick up names and addresses, and they meet each other. So it's networking. Yeah. So and it's not too big. So, and I don't want it to be too big, so that people can just meet each other and sit and have a really good time as well. Yeah,
and I think that's so important, because if it's too big, you can just be lost in it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's that personal touch.
And people come on their own. Yeah, a lot of women or men, they come on their own, but they know that they'll bump into somebody. Yeah. And they come from all over as well, especially because you can camp or bring your van, and you can bring a dog on a lead. Right. Yeah, so fantastic. Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's thank you for coming in and telling us all about it.
Having me.
And no, it's been great. I hope you've enjoyed the environment of the studio.
Lovely. Yes, I have.
I'd love to do more, because I'm down on the south coast, so a lot of people are all over the world, and why it's not so easy.
You could do the locals. I mean, I can give you a whole list of local people. Yes, I can, if you want them. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, well, I must do more of that then, because it is. I mean, I love it, because you get to talk to somebody, and you make a cup of tea.
Yes.
You get I've only had to throw 6 or 7 people out. No.
Not me yet, not yet.
No.
But no, it is nice, isn't it? Well, again, Zooms and that are great.
Yes.
And it's their technology, because everybody loved Zooms, didn't they, in that lockdown period? But we need to be with people. It's really
absolutely
important. Yeah.
And in many ways, and that's what's nice for me to do the talks now as well. Yeah. And trying to do both, of course, is 1 minute you're back in Worthing, and next minute you're going to go up to Derby or somewhere.
Yes.
And then you head back, and then you're over doing them. But it's so lovely. I mean, and you know this, but for the benefit of the audience, it is so lovely to meet real people who, because you also get not only what they've got to talk about, but you're getting the vibration from the room.
Yes, absolutely.
And some solace as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is an amazing thing. So thank you.
And the bribe money.
And of course you get the bribe money. Yeah, the bribe money is most important. All those brown envelopes. Have you got your brown envelope?
I've left it at home. Sorry.
Oh dear.
It's in the post.
Yeah. Oh well. I'll hound you. I'll send the cat round.
Send the cat.
Yeah, the cat will be round going, "Oi, Excuse me.
Give us your dosh.
So anyway, there you go. So Karren Dodd, ladies and gentlemen, the Freedom Network. Go and check it out. I'll put the link in the description.
Thank you.
I'll also put a link to the event at Hope Sussex so people can come along to that.
And can I just say, if you do go onto the website, do sign up to the newsletter. I don't write them often, but that tends to give you an idea of what's happening in the network. If somebody's doing something up there, then I can put it in there and share information and any event. So that's how I sort of network.
And presumably, if you're on holiday for a week and you a bit like I know I was going to say a bit like the AA, not the motoring organiser. I had a friend of mine was a member of the AA,
right?
And if we were at certain places, she could go off to a meeting, you see, with any old AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and would be welcomed in.
Yes.
And I just thought suddenly it went, I suppose if you're on holiday and you know bored with a family or something, and you know there's a hub and they've got something going,
absolutely, that's
just join in.
I would really at the initial stage is that what I would promote. I think if you are going on holiday or if you're allowed to leave, your little zone, your smart zone, whatever it's called, your smart city. But yes, definitely. I mean, now I need to bring it back alive again because, as I say, I think it's kind of served its purpose. It was there initially to help people find each other. Yes. Now people have found each other and they think, as we said, that was a close shave. But we are in the eye of the storm.
And also we're in that summer sort of, which is a lull anyway.
Yeah.
But as we head towards the autumn, you can't help thinking that there's going to be problems.
And people are stuck in their houses. You know, that's why I think as a nation, you know, we're not like those people that live in the Mediterranean where they're out in the plaza. And they talk and chat and it's all sunny. We're in our little boxes, aren't we, watching Netflix?
So I hadn't asked where you sort of meet actually. Is it because I think Tony was saying it's pubs anywhere.
So in the days that we weren't allowed to meet, there was one of the girls, Di, she had this great idea. She found out, she's a solicitor, that you could sign up for a well-being, like a mental well-being group, and you could have 15 people. You just signed up online. You did it. It took half an hour. Then you've got your paper, and you would meet 15 of you would lawfully meet. So 15 plus. That's how a lot of people met. But it would be in cafes. Now people are meeting in the park or wherever. So it's up to the group, you know. So there's no rules or regulations here. It's just guidance.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Guidance.
Guidance.
Be careful of that guidance, especially when it comes to the government. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Freedom Network. Thank you, Karren. Thank you for coming in.
It's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Lovely to meet you in the flesh.
And I'll be back with some more interviews, amazing interviews of fascinating people, and more of my slightly bizarre monologues as well. So keep tuning into the channel, check out the website, all of that kind of stuff. Put your money into a brown envelope and send it to Karren.
Oh, thank you. Yes, please. I'll have it. Yeah, I'll have
it. The men in black coming to visit.
Oh no, you have it. You have it.
It's that like you have it, no, we have it. No,
we give it to charity.
Yeah, give it to charity.
Oxfam.
They've got it over there. Don't blame us. Until next time, from Karren and I. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.